Lakers signed Vincent Valerio-Bodon, and you won't believe what this means for the roster. Hey guys, this is Guilherme, and today I bring you all the bombshell news from the Lakers training camp. Who's shining? Who's at risk? And how could this surprise signing turn the game around? Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to reveal everything you need to know to understand what's really going on behind the scenes at the team. And let's get to today's news. But first, just make sure you're already subscribed to the channel, because the next videos will be a series of content that will help you stay informed about everything related to the Lakers. Turn on the notification bell and select the All option. After that, we'll send you everything breaking that comes out behind the scenes at the Lakers. Lakers fans, we have a goal of 100 likes to hit this video. In the last video, we hit the goal in less than an hour. Prove that you're a die-hard Lakers fan and leave a like so we can hit this goal soon. Today we're going to talk about the Lakers' most recent signing, which has generated a lot of curiosity and even a bit of confusion among fans. After all, what kind of player did they bring to the team? Well, this isn't a traditional signing, with a guaranteed contract for the main roster of 15 players. This time, we're talking about an Exhibit 10 contract, also known as a training camp deal, something similar to what they did previously with Jordan Goodwin, and now with Vincent Valerio-Bodon. Vincent Valerio-Bodon is the player in question. He's not exactly a new name within the franchise. In fact, he's been around for a while, participating in the Lakers' G League and Summer League teams over the past 2 years. He doesn't have a fully guaranteed contract, but his presence on the roster is an interesting bet for the Lakers. Now you might be wondering, what exactly can Vincent Valerio-Bodon bring to the team? And why did the Lakers opt for yet another Exhibit 10 contract? Let's explore this a little further. Valerio-Bodon is a 6'10" forward who was not selected in the 2023 NBA draft. Since then, he has primarily trained and played with the Lakers' G League team without having been given a two-way contract until now. The Exhibit 10 contract he signed allows the Lakers to watch him more closely during training camp without compromising a spot on the official 15-man roster. If he impresses, there is always the possibility of a promotion, perhaps to a two-way contract, which would allow him to move between the main team and the G League throughout the season. If not, he can continue to develop his game in the G League, where he has already shown some promising signs. The Lakers' decision to add Valerio-Bodon to an Exhibit 10 contract reflects a cautious strategy, seeking to strengthen the roster without compromising the team's financial or structural flexibility. It will be interesting to see how he performs in training camp and whether he can secure a spot on the 15-man roster. For now, what we do know is that he has another chance to prove himself, and the Lakers are keeping an eye on his development. Let's see what the next few days hold for Vincent Valerio-Bodon and how he can impact the team's future. Stay tuned, because things can change quickly. Let's talk a little bit about what exactly this Exhibit 10 contract means, which is what Vincent Valerio-Bodon is doing. If you're not familiar with this type of contract, here's a quick explanation. It allows a player to join a team's training camp, and if he ends up staying with the G League team after that, he receives a bonus of around $50,000, with a chance of being a little bit more. Basically, it's a way for the team to test out a player for a while without compromising too much of their main payroll. In the case of Valerio-Bodon, the Lakers seem to see something in him that's worth taking a chance on. After all, this is the second time they've offered him this type of contract. It indicates that they see potential in his game and believe he can improve with more time to develop. So, what makes Valerio-Bodon interesting? First, his versatility. As a 6'1" forward, he has the physical build to do a little bit of everything on the court. He's not necessarily brilliant at one specific aspect, but he can play multiple roles. His ball handling is quite good for someone his height, and he has the ability to create plays, even if he's not the team's primary point guard. He has also shown some potential as a three-point shooter and is capable of finishing around the rim, although he still lacks consistency. His G League averages of around 40% overall and 31% on threes still leave something to be desired in terms of reliability. Additionally, he has not stood out much as a rebounder or playmaker, but he has shown good defensive ability. The videos and stats suggest that he is quite adaptable, being able to guard everyone from small forwards to taller point guards. Defensively, he has averaged about a block per game, or a little more if we consider 36 minutes, and about a steal and a half per game during the Showcase Cup. This versatility is undoubtedly one of the aspects that the Lakers value about him. While there are still areas where he needs to improve, the fact that he can play multiple roles may be exactly what the team is looking for. They seem to believe that Given time and the right opportunity, Valerio Bon can develop those skills further and become a valuable asset to the team. It's unclear whether Vincent Valerio-Bodon's skills will translate well to the NBA, but there's a good deal of hope that they will in the future. And that's exactly why the Lakers are giving him another year, evaluating his performance and hoping that he can take the next step in his development. However, Valerio Bon isn't the only interesting name on the Lakers training camp roster, and it's understandable that many people are a little confused about who's actually on that roster and how it differs from the official 15-man roster. Let's dig a little deeper into that. First, let's be clear. A training camp roster can have up to 21 players, while an NBA team's official roster is limited to 15. But in the case of the Lakers, they appear to be working with an even larger number of players for training camp, somewhere around 24. That means that some players were likely released without much fanfare or official announcement, and it makes sense that it happened quietly. An Exposure 10 contract, like the one Valerio Bon signed, isn't usually the kind of deal that teams feel the need to publicize widely. It's more of a deal designed to give a player a chance to showcase his potential without compromising the team financially or in terms of cap space. These cuts likely occurred shortly after the end of Summer League. If I had to hazard a guess as to who might have been released, I'd say one of them would be Sean East. The reason for that is simple. The Lakers signed Jordan Goodwin, who has a very similar profile to East. Both are players who primarily play as point guards, but can also play as shooting guards, which makes them more or less interchangeable in terms of on-court roles. With Goodwin's arrival, Sean East's presence becomes less of a necessity, which would make him an obvious candidate to be released. So while the Lakers tweak their training camp roster and evaluate who really has the potential to move forward, players like Valerio Bon have a chance to show that they can be a valuable addition to the team. We'll see how this plays out, because with so many changes and adjustments, there's always room for surprises. Another player who seems likely to be released is Mohamed Diarra. This becomes even more likely with the recent signing of Kyler Kelly. Both play center, and considering Colin Castleton is already on one of the two-way contracts, it's hard to imagine the Lakers wanting to have 5 centers on their training camp roster. Sure, they might want to keep a few options to add to the roster, but given the circumstances, Diarra seems like a likely choice to cut. In addition to that, in order to reduce the training camp roster to 21 players after signing Vincent Valerio-Bodon, my guess is that they also released Quincy. He was a promising prospect coming out of college and had a decent amount of summer league action. But if the Lakers are following training camp rules, I think they had to make these cuts. And here's the thing to note. It's very unlikely that they released anyone on a two-way or guaranteed contract. I'm pretty confident that they didn't. So if I had to go out on a limb, I'd say the 3 players released would be Sean East, Mohamed Diarra, and Quincy. Keep in mind that this isn't official, but if the Lakers are trying to comply with training camp cap rules, which they are, then they would have to cut the roster to 21 players. And that would mean cutting 3 players to get to that number. With these releases, it looks like the remaining players on Exposure 10 contracts would be Jordan Goodwin, Vincent Valerio-Bodon, and Kyler Kelly. These contracts allow the Lakers to get a good look at who can step up and potentially secure a more stable position on the team. Training camp is just beginning, and it's a crucial time for these players to show what they're capable of. In addition to the players on traditional contracts, the Lakers also have a number of players on two-way contracts. These contracts act as an extension of the main 15-man roster, allowing players to rotate between the main roster and the G League without having to sign a full NBA contract. At this point, the Lakers' 3 two-way contracts are all filled. For those unfamiliar, the players on these contracts are Blake Hinson, Armarl Taylor, and Colin Castleton. It's worth noting that Colin Castleton is the only one of these 3 who is returning to the team on a two-way contract. Now, if we go back to the players who are in training camp like Vincent Valerio-Bodon, they're all signed Exposure 10 contracts. This type of contract doesn't guarantee a direct path to the main 15-man roster or even a two-way contract. Essentially, the Exposure 10 contract only guarantees a financial bonus if the player remains with the G League team after training camp. So for Valerio-Bodon and the others in this situation, this is the most likely route at the moment. However, all of these players on Exposure 10 contracts are also eligible for a two-way contract. To do so, they must have less than 4 years of NBA experience, which applies to all of them, including Kyler Kelly. Technically, Kelly has about 2 years of experience, as he hasn't played in an NBA game despite being in the G League for 3 years. Vincent Valerio-Bodon, on the other hand, has yet to play in an NBA game, so he effectively has 0 years of experience in the league. On the other hand, Jordan Goodwin is in a slightly different situation. He's on the brink, but still has 1 more year of eligibility for a two-way contract. As we've discussed in previous videos, Goodwin has 121 games of NBA experience, which is quite rare for a player with an Exposure 10 contract. Typically, you don't see someone with that much NBA experience still being eligible for a two-way contract. It's precisely this combination of little official experience in the league, but with enough time to show what they're capable of, that makes these players' situations so interesting. For them, training camp represents a valuable chance to showcase their skills and convince the Lakers that they deserve a more permanent spot on the roster. Let's watch to see how all this plays out. There is a good amount of NBA experience among the 3 players, even though none of them are established veterans. Jordan Goodwin has spent the most time in the league so far, accumulating significant experience. However, what makes this situation interesting is that all 3 have potential and play very different positions, which brings a diversity of skills to the team. Jordan Goodwin is a combo guard, someone who can both set up the play and score, offering flexibility on offense. Vincent Valerio-Bodon is a power forward, although he is undersized for that position and is versatile enough to play anywhere from the 2 to the 4, which gives the Lakers a lot of options on the court. And then there is Kelly, who is a legitimate center, a pure paint player. Speaking a little more about Kelly, he has only been with the team for about 2 weeks, but he already brings with him an impressive track record. Last season, he led the entire G League in blocks per game, averaging 2.9. This is arguably his most defining characteristic. He is known for being an exceptional rim protector, and in fact, at the G League level, he once again led the league in blocks, averaging nearly 4 per game when playing an average of 36 minutes. That's remarkable, even considering the level of competition in the G League. Having the ability to block shots so often certainly caught the attention of the Lakers, earning him a spot on their training camp roster. And frankly, he might even deserve a two-way contract, especially considering that in addition to being an excellent rim defender, Kelly is also a good rebounder and poses an offensive threat on shots near the rim. He's the type of player who can run what's called drop coverage on defense, a style of coverage where the center drops back to protect the rim, but also has some mobility to contest shots without being limited to staying under the basket. This combination of skills makes Kelly a potentially valuable player, especially if he can continue to excel during training camp. If he shows that he can maintain this level of defensive impact in the NBA, his trajectory with the Lakers could extend well beyond a simple Exposure 10 contract. Kelly may not have the same ability to make quick defensive changes as Anthony Davis or Bam Adebayo, but he can play a role reminiscent of Rudy Gobert, contesting shots and protecting the rim without relying solely on dropping back under the basket. Of course, I'm not saying Kelly is on par with these NBA defensive greats. They operate on a different level. But I do believe Kelly has the potential to defend the rim at the NBA level, especially as a player who specializes in protecting the paint. That's why the Lakers organization, under J.J. Redick, will be watching Kelly closely throughout training camp and the preseason. This period will be crucial for him, as there's a real chance he could earn a two-way contract, especially if he can compete well with Colin Castleton. While that's not the easiest path, Kelly has a good chance to excel, perhaps even more so than Vincent Valerio-Bodon. However, Kelly's direct competition will be Blake Hinson, who comes into training camp with more experience. Hinson spent 5 years in college and was given priority during Summer League, accumulating significantly more playing time than Valerio-Bodon. This experience makes Hinson a more mature and prepared player at the moment, which puts Valerio-Bodon in a challenging position to compete for a two-way contract, or even against the likes of Armarl Taylor or Colin Castleton. If I had to bet, I would say that the main competition will be between Valerio-Bodon and Blake Hinson, and so far, Hinson has the clear edge. But, as is always the case with young players, there is a chance that Valerio-Bodon could surprise and make a big leap in development between Summer League and training camp. While that may seem a bit unlikely at this point, sports have a way of surprising us when we least expect it. Let's watch and see how this story unfolds. Speaking of Jordan Goodwin, as we've mentioned before, he is a player with considerable NBA experience, especially for someone with an Exposure 10 contract. With 121 games in the league, that experience certainly puts him in a good position heading into training camp. Goodwin has already had the chance to play in an NBA rotation, which means he already knows what it takes to compete at that level. This makes him a very strong candidate for a two-way contract if some of the other players, like Blake Hinson, Armorel Taylor, or Colin Castleton, don't perform as expected during training camp. I believe the Lakers are eyeing Goodwin because they know that if they need him, he can easily step into a role with the first team. If he plays well during training camp, the chances of him getting a two-way contract increase significantly. As I mentioned earlier, Jordan Goodwin was signed not only for his experience, but also for his intensity and effort. He's the type of player who pushes others to be their best, raising the level of competition during practice. That's something any coach values, a player who pushes the team forward and doesn't let anyone slack off. With all of this in mind, I hope this has helped shed a little more light on how the Lakers are structuring their roster for this season and the type of players they've been looking for recently. The addition of Vincent Valerio-Bodon and the presence of Goodwin in training camp show that the team is betting on versatility and development potential, keeping its options open to adjust the team as the season progresses. Thank you for watching so far. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue receiving the next content. Access our playlist now that will appear on the screen or in the pinned comment with all the news and breaking news about the Lakers, and stay up to date with the behind-the-scenes, highlights, last-minute controversies, transfers, everything about the Los Angeles Lakers team. Until the next video.